Welcome to the Get Your Shift Together Men's Podcast with your host, Dr. MyRon Edmonds.
What's going on?
What's good? DJ Walk. Kymone Hinds. What's good, fellas? What's the word?
First off, man, before we even get started, all right, if you clicked into the countdown, I personally want to apologize for that trash beat. That old ragtime beat. I apologize. I personally am on a mission to change that joint. I don't know where mine got that, but it's trash. I don't condone it. I don't even like being on the screen when it comes off. They're like, "Oh, ain't that DJ Walk? After that trash beat that just went off."
Hey, you put up a disclaimer. He got a discllaimer. This does not reflect DJ Walk or his catalog of music. Exactly. Yeah. It's funny.
Are you sure? You need to come up to your mic, man, because the way you sound, man, get you so far away from your mic, the way you sound suspect right now, you probably are responsible for that countdown, bro.
What's up, man? How's everybody moving?
Good. We good. What's going on in your world, DJ Walk?
Hey, man, everything's good. Like I always say every week, family's good, God's good. Just coming off of a action-packed all-star weekend here in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. You know, made some great connections, had a good time, met some idols a little bit. So, you know, it was a good time, man.
Man, I saw you over there kicking it with Guy Fieri, man. Yeah, sharing recipes and stuff. I said, look at this
DJ Walk, man. Come on, tell me, who did you meet? Did you meet any ballers? Who did you meet?
Yeah, man, I met Evan Mobley. Actually, me and some people that represent him is real close.
Nice.
Met Isaiah Thompson. You know, did a party for Terrence J.
Who's Isaiah Thompson?
I was going to ask that.
Isaiah, what
Thomas. Isaiah Thomas?
Zeke, okay.
No, I thought there was some new draft pick that came out of developmental league or something. Hey, man, first of all, you create this trashy countdown, and now you can't even get people's names together, man. Kymone Hinds, what's going on, bro?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm in a new location this week, in my own house, but I'm good.
That. Yeah, man, it looks. Yeah, man. All your looks have been really, really nice lately, man. You got new cameras, new mics, you know,
upgraded, man.
Accent walls, everything, man.
Listen, it's 2022, man. You gotta try some new stuff in the new year.
The lighting, it's really the lighting, man, because you know sometimes we couldn't see you well, brother.
hey, DJ Walk
right now.
Hey, DJ Walk, you can't let this dude talk about me, man. Come on, we gotta stick together, man. You can't laugh at that one, man. We gotta stick together on this, man.
We are Team Darkskin over here. You know
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We can feel Myron, you know what I'm saying, be in the house cooking biscuits or something.
Right. Hey, you know, the crazy thing is I made some biscuits this past week. I did. You know I could cook. See, that's why you playing with me, man. Anyway, look, I'll tell you what, man. This week has been crazy. My wife is back home now. So listen. So now that's a good thing, right? See, but man, you know, I'm be selling to guys, man, being in a system, you know what I'm saying? Getting up at a certain time in the morning and just, right. You know, everything is in structure. I have to have that. I need that in my life. My wife comes home, brother. I just want you to know, man, that system, man, listen, this is what that system looks like now. Call it up, man. Throw that thing out, man. I'm just telling you, guys, listen, marriage is blessed of God. It's just hard to get out of the bed in the morning when my wife is at home, man. It's very hard.
I would think that system is easy for you as a veteran military man, you know, just someone who's, you know, been through the wars and all that stuff, man. You're still a veteran military.
Hey, why are you playing? See, don't listen, man. I'm not superstitious, but I'm praying God right now while he's saying that. I pray to God that whatever's going on in the Ukraine right now in Russia, in the Ukraine right now in Russia, that they do not call my number. This guy's always trying to play me for my little reserve role in the military. But yeah, man, no, man, I've it's just very hard, man. The bed is warm, the body is warm. It's very. I mean, should I go work out? Should I lay here? I mean, listen, it's a men's podcast. I just want the brothers to know, man. If you guys have any tips for me, how do you get up out of the bed in the morning when you're laying next to your wife? It's a blessing. I just want you to know that. But I'm losing in the other areas of life. I'm winning there. But anyway, fellas, welcome to the Get Your Shift Together. Right? Get Your Shift Together podcast. We try to help brothers win in the things that matter. Kymone, I think I'm the more I think about what we're going to be talking about today, you and I have talked about this a lot. And I just want to give just a little bit of a taste to the brothers, those that are joining, those who are coming on, either if you're live or if you're coming through the podcast. Man, again, it's Black History Month, and we're going to be talking about today just the complicated legacy of fathers and father figures in our lives. Before we even get into it, have you guys watched that documentary that Jay told us to watch? I want to bring him in right now because
because of that, I actually watched Blood Brothers. That was on Netflix. It was Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, their relationship. And then I started the PBS documentary. I probably started it too late at night, so I fell asleep. But I'm gonna go back and watch it because we have it on ready to stream it. So,
hey Jay, I tell you right now, man, I watched Muhammad Ali's I think it was 4 of them.
Yep.
I watched the documentary on man. Brother.
It was deep, wasn't it?
Must watch.
Yeah.
PBS, y'all. I know y'all don't. I know we on Netflix, and hey, but listen, it was a real documentary too. To me, it was history. Right. It was entertaining because it's Ali, but talking about today we're talking about complicated legacies. Man, you talking about a complicated legacy, man. Wow, man. Anyway, yeah,
man. It's just I'm glad that you had a chance to check that out, MyRon. I mean, it just really spoke to my soul, especially with this being Black History Month and just the iconic figure that Muhammad Ali was, but the many layers surrounding him. And like you said, MyRon, I think the best documentaries, they don't just highlight the person being, the biography. It's not just the positive things. It highlights the vices. It highlights the mistakes. It highlights the pain. In some cases, it highlights the womanizing. It highlights the decline in health. And man, I sat and watched that whole thing in a day and a half, all 9 hours of it, man. It was fantastic.
Wow. I can see how. Now, we're just going to ignore the fact, man, that you in your car. Like now, listen, now you're not just in any car. This dude has retrofitted. DJ Walk, this man has I almost wish he could walk outside and let us see a little bit. This brother has retrofitted a G-Wagon. Listen, brother, I thought I was doing all right. My little Chevy, man. Listen, man, this man went to that. Got a G-Wagon podcast studio on wheels. Come on.
Listen, man, he's giving us something to shoot for, man.
God is good, man. And God is good. And a lot of people don't know if you have a good accountant and MyRon, Kymone, Walk. Walk, I saw you hanging out with Guy Fieri, man. So I know that you getting that bag. But as you guys get that bag, a lot of people don't know that a Sprinter van, a G-Wagon, any automobile used for work over 6,000 pounds is a tax write-off. So this is a tax write-off on wheels and a marketing engagement opportunity.
That's good.
But God is good, man. Got to give God the glory.
Now you've been. Guys, lately, I'm always looking for Jay. He gives us.
It's gonna be a hot take this week. It's a sizzling hot take. We go into the lowest common denominator.
All right, this is sports. Let's get this sports take. Go ahead, man.
All right. So, conceptually, everybody's talking about your man, LeBron James. You know, he talked about the All-Star break. You know, shout out to Cleveland, man. You guys did a fantastic job, MyRon, Walk. You know, I've made fun of Cleveland as someone that's from Columbus. You know, I've talked about the lake catching on fire. I've talked about the Factory of Sadness. I've talked about the burned out buildings on St. Clair Avenue, stretching all the way to suburban Cleveland.
Y'all
did a fantastic job with All-Star Weekend. It was dope. It was a collection of African-American talent. So y'all did a fantastic job. But one of the big stories is LeBron is getting towards the end of his career. We know that the Lakers aren't what we thought that they would be. You know, Russ Westbrook is really in decline. I think AD is in decline. And LeBron has stated that he wants to spend his last season playing with his son. Which I think is a great story. Like, I remember watching Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. play together for the Cincinnati Reds. You know, Ken Griffey Jr. was playing center field, Ken Griffey Sr. was playing left field, and it was fantastic. I hate to come after kids and hot take kids, but have any of you guys ever seen Bronny James play? Like, Bronny James is not an NBA caliber player. Now, I know that his father can pull some strings and can get him. Maybe they go play for the Jazz. Maybe they go play for D Wade and suit up. But I've never, ever seen someone who averages six and a half points as a junior in high school be a one-and-doner in the NBA. I was talking with my dad. I was like, Bronny James is more likely to be playing for Iona or Creighton or some mid-level Wichita State Shockers. He's more likely to be on Wichita State's roster in a couple of years than on the Los Angeles Lakers roster. I'm sure he's a great kid. He's obviously got superior DNA than I do. But MyRon, I went to high school with you. I could have averaged 6.5 points for Sierra Canyon, man. That's one 3-pointer. That's one 3-pointer, which I was good for 1 3 a game. That's one cherry pick layup, which I'm good for 1 cherry pick layup, and that's 1 free throw a game. That's not someone who is on par to go straight to the NBA. So I think people should puff the brakes on that. I mean, if he gets to the NBA, it'll be because his father pulled strings. But Bronny James is not an elite prospect for the NBA. And people will say, well, what if he hits a growth spurt? He's a junior, but Bronny James, he started a year late. So Bronny James is 17 going on 18. So that growth spurt is probably not coming. I think he'll be a fantastic D1 player somewhere. He'll be a glue guy. He'll be a hustle guy. He has a great basketball IQ.
He's 6'3". He's like 6'3", 6'4".
Well, I mean, 6'4", if you're 6'4", you might not be pastoring, good brother. You know, inches matter. He's not going to be 6'8". Now his brother Bryce, that kid is a monster. He's already 6'4" and change, and already doing some amazing stuff. I think he's the one that hit the DNA lottery. If LaMelo Ball had stayed at 6'2", he wouldn't be the LaMelo Ball that we see playing in the All-Star game. So I'm not hating on Bronny James, but I just wanted to point out the fact that people are writing him in as a top 10 prospect because of his father.
Nobody is doing that.
That's not accurate.
Stop saying that. You're just trying to make your take even hotter. I have not seen anybody say that Bronny is a top 10 prospect. Just stop it.
So how does he get to the league, MyRon?
Well,
I mean, he might be a G-leaguer.
He's a 24th rank in his class.
I mean, that's pretty high.
What is he? Hold on. Let's fact check. You see, we have to watch James.
When he's the number 24 ranked in his class, he's averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.5 steals in his first 14 games this season.
I'm just saying,
man. He shaves.
Usually.
Hold on. I gotta jump in here. I gotta ask James a question. So if you was a GM, and if LeBron James Jr. was on the board, you wouldn't take him
at 15 or at like 45?
15.
Oh no, absolutely not.
How about late in the draft?
Giannis Antetokounmpo was the 13th pick in the draft. Like you can get some superstars. There's this myth that you got to get the number 1 pick to be a superstar. There are a lot of Steph Curry was like 7th or 8th in the draft. Like you don't have to have the number 1 pick.
Yeah, he might drop down to like a round 2 or whatever, but a GM will take him for marketing purposes only, probably.
But I'll tell you this, though.
That's a great
But remember, you guys are as a one and done. I'm not saying that Bronny can't go he'll probably go to a elite school, go to UCLA or Duke or somewhere. After playing there for 3 or 4 years, he might be ready for the league. But we're assuming that he's ready to go straight to the league after his freshman year.
Nobody is doing that. You were trying to make this
how would LeBron play with him if he doesn't go to the league right after his freshman year? Is LeBron going to play till he's 44?
But think about this, Jay. If you have a late first round pick and you can get Bronny and LeBron at least for a year in his farewell season or seasons, would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I would do it if my objective is to sell tickets, but I do think it should be a meritocracy. I knew Myron was not going to like this take. I don't know guys that average less than 10 points as a junior in high school that are going straight to the league. That's just, we saw Kobe Bryant play in high school. You know, we saw Rasheed Wallace play in high school at Pine Forge. You know, they were in Philly playing. These are guys that were putting up 37 when they were 16, 17 years old. They weren't glue guys. They weren't energy off the bench guys.
I thought, you know, and listen, you know, I think you're one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. And so that's why I'm very disappointed in this take. I'm very disappointed. It belies your intellectual acumen. You know what? Funny thing is if you would have said, because I think DJ Walk was intimating to this, if you would have said LeBron James is a genius, because he has basically guaranteed his son a spot on a roster.
I mean, that's true though.
If he says I'm going to play with my son, then that's a two for one right there. I mean, that's genius. That's genius. But instead, you want to belittle and you want to downplay and even your stats talking about he's averaging 6 points. Kymone found that to be a lie. He's averaging 10. He's averaging 10.
They update. He might have had 17 against a scrub and some garbage time, man. I'm looking at the stats from late January, man. So I might be a little bit off in that, but after talking about Muhammad Ali and just really getting into the depths of the black man and this great guest you have on today, man, I had to hot take it because I haven't hot taked it in quite some time. So expect hot takes from me through the spring, sizzling hot and annoying and brash and haughty stuff coming from me.
Hey, listen, we really look forward to more of this chicanery. I was glad to actually hear this because I've been agreeing with everything you've been saying as of late. But anyway, much love, brother. Always bringing the heat. Always bringing the heat. And listen, the G-Wagon, man, that's next level, man. That's next level.
Hey, man, last thing is new affiliate Orlando, WWDYZ, start next week. Talking with Urban One about Atlanta and Charlotte, man. So I think by the end of the spring, we'll be on about 7 or 8 terrestrial affiliates. Sponsorships are coming in, man. Doing some really good things. Like I said, God is good, man. God is really good. Got to give all the praise and glory to him.
Much love, bro. We'll holla. Yeah, that's the take I've been looking for, man. I've been looking for him to say something just outlandish. Nobody is talking about Bronny being a top prospect. At least I've not heard them say that. But
really,
not like he's saying. They're making it. I think
for you to be one and done. That's what a lot of people are talking about. Him being one and done.
I mean, I always thought that he would be one and done.
I could see him being one and done when I look at the talent in college basketball these days. It's just not. It's not like it was back in the day, man. It just seems like everybody, like, for example, you got OTE down there in Atlanta. You got all these different spots where, the G League, all this. I mean, college ain't the best hoopers ain't in college anymore. So, but we'll see. He's probably not a one and done. But you see how he tried to shave points off that. DJ Walk. Listen, man, I need to hear what the streets are talking about right now, brother.
You know, it's so crazy because Jay took my my little segment, man, because I was into the fatherhood thing and how he's building a legacy for his son. So he kind of took my little segment, but I do have a backup.
All right. Okay, the man is prepared.
Real quickly, man. So what's bubbling on the block, man? What are these barbershops talking about? What's the hot take? So what's the hot take from All-Star Weekend, right? So what is everybody talking about from All-Star Weekend? Not DJ Khaled screaming all over Lil Baby's performance, totally ruining the halftime show. totally just ruining the halftime show. Not that trash slam dunk contest and that trash 3-point contest. No. What people are talking about, man, what the homies are talking about is this man right here. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Okay? Michael Jeffrey Jordan showed out this weekend, man.
Yes, he did.
Everyone's seen the clip of him and Magic in the locker room saying he'll go one-on-one with him, and Isaiah kind of laughed it off, but Jordan was dead serious. You see in his face, he did not crack a smile. He did not chuckle. He asked where his shoes was at, and he was ready to go. So Jordan is still showing that tenacity, that competitive nature. You know, he has been a meme sensation since The Last Dance, him with the iPad and him talking about his teammates, you know, and this continues his meme legacy of being that tenacious, hardcore, competitive player. And also the little exchange with him and Mary J. Blige, man. That was interesting, man. That was interesting, man.
I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that felt that was. I don't know who is more responsible though. Is Mary hugged him like 4 times, like.
Listen, Monet Tejada, as she's known on the 50 Cent Power series, and she got 2 baby daddies on there too. So she may be transitioning that little Power Book character onto, you know, let me get some of this real life work with this, man. But it was definitely an interesting moment. I have a couple inside sources to say that MJ was really I didn't do an MJ party. I wasn't blessed to do that. But I heard that Jordan was getting it in Cleveland this weekend, man. You know, if you take one look at Michael Jordan, you could see in his eyes those cigar yellowed eyes that he loves to party, man. He loves to, you know, drink a little nice glass of cognac and smoke a nice Cuban cigar. So, you know, MJ, he turned Cleveland out, man. You know, everybody kind of thought that, and that's one more thing I was going to say. Everybody thought that, you know, this All-Star Weekend was kind of going to be on the low, you know, because it was very cold weather, snowy, but Negroes was out, including MJ on the court with Monet Tejada, a.k.a. Mary J. Blige. And that is the new Jordan meme. You know, his hand placed slightly on her backside.
Yeah.
As he brings her.
He got long fingers.
You know, like, Jordan, what are you doing out here, man? So MJ was the
He's 6'6", though. He's 6'6", and Mary J. Blige probably like 5'5". So proportionately, that's the only place his hand could go.
Yeah, right.
No, bro. No, bro.
Yeah,
no, bro.
right.
I'll tell you, if Juanita Walker seen me in that picture, not caring if I was 6'5" or 6'6", whatever, Compton, California, where she's born and raised, will come up out of her.
Hey, but you ain't the GOAT. You ain't the GOAT either. So, I mean, you can't get away with nothing.
I am the GOAT in my own right, brother. Don't show me short, you know. But yes, MJ was what the block was talking about, man. He was all over the city, I heard, and he was clowning in the locker room, clowning with Mary J. Blige. So that was the topics of the week, man. Michael Jordan showing out in Cleveland like he did.
We didn't even think he was coming. The rumor was he wasn't going to show up. The guy came fashionably late. Yeah, anyway, I'm so glad. I mean, we always, you know, we talk about LeBron, then we got to talk about Jordan. Way to be anticlimactic. Way to be.
Hey, listen, Myron, I sent you a picture this week, man. I said, listen, there was a picture, and I said, here's a picture of the GOAT. There was no argument in there, man. It was Jordan and LeBron. I didn't say who. There's a picture of the GOAT, man. That's it. All arguments are over, man.
All the pictures I've seen was like, it said the GOAT and his son, and they were talking about LeBron being the GOAT. Here goes LeBron James and his son, MJ.
No, Robert Horry, not the GOAT, man. He has like 7 rings.
No, that would be Bill Russell. That would be Bill Russell. He got 11.
He got carried by everybody. Listen, I just believe in GOTE, as I said, greatest of their era. You know, and listen, that's a great segue because we're talking about legacy today, and That's why I think we should respect these players, especially the cats that played in the 50s and 60s, man. And it's Black History Month, the height of racism, playing for the Celtics and stuff like that. That's on another level. Well, anyway, man, we've got a brother that's with us today that I think is just, he is one of, first of all, you need to know that this is an influencer that is making such an impact. That funny thing is, I know him. You know how you know somebody, but you follow them not because you know them, but you actually follow them because of what they actually. This is no friendly follow. This brother be dropping straight fire. This is Garrison Hayes. He's with us here today. He is everything that is to me that matters about young Black millennials making an impact in the social media space. Brother got 219,000 followers.
Listen, Myron,
2 million.
He has a swipe up feature. He has a swipe up feature.
I got the swipe up.
Swipe up feature. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so let me set this up. So we've been having a conversation. And we talked because anyway, well, I can't share what the initial conversation was about, but we talked about just our fathers and just legacy. And anyway, bro, I was so touched by that conversation that we had something else we were supposed to talk about today. I was like, we got to bring Garrison on here and we got to have this conversation. But anyway, Garrison, welcome to the Get Your Shit Together Men's Podcast, brother.
Yo, I love it. First of all, I love the energy, man. This is like, I was over here, I was like in the backstage, like cracking up, laughing, just enjoying it, man. It's amazing. Thanks for having me on, yo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna tell these guys to go to the backstage for a minute. You and I are just gonna kick it for a minute. But what I really want to talk about today, man, is some of the things that you shared really like.
I think Myron put himself backstage.
Man, listen, man. Hey, listen, I was going to say, it was so deep for me that I took myself out, right? Oh, bro, man, you shared some stuff, man, just about, legacy. And I want you to just kind of share what you shared. It's Black History Month. And so, that conversation was heavy for me because it really touched on some personal stuff, man. But, man, just go ahead, man. What was on your heart that made me say, stop the podcast? We got to bring this brother on here now.
No, man. It's, man. Some of the people out there may know me personally and know that I lost my dad back in September, man. And so he died of COVID. And it was honestly, I really can't put it into words. It was the most traumatic experience I've had in my life. It was painful in a deep way, man. And it changed the way I think about everything, is the honest to goodness truth. To go through something like that, to lose somebody that you love and look up to, the person who in so many ways has been an idol to you, I think your father in many ways has the right to be God on earth to you. And so to see that in my dad, as complicated as he was as a person, I could still say that I could unequivocally look up to my dad and find direction and guidance. And I never made a big decision that I didn't run by my dad. To lose that so suddenly, he was an active guy. It's even crazy just to talk about him in the past tense, but to lose touch with that thing that's so grounding for me, it really put every part of my life into a tailspin over the last, I don't know, however many months it's been. And really the only thing that's been able to bring me out is, first of all, the grace of God, but it's also thinking about what I want to leave behind. If you've ever lost somebody, that, especially someone close to you, that your role, you move from being like the child to being the person who takes care of the affairs. Like it's a disorienting shift in your role. And I think a lot of people experience that as their parents get older, but that kind of the finality of death is like, now it's on you. Like you got to clean out all of his storages and you have to go clean his room, and you got to, he didn't do laundry that week. So you got to go do his laundry and figure out what you're going to do with that stuff. And just, it's all the things that a person leaves behind. And so it's kind of on that two levels. It's like, man, like, what am I physically leaving behind? Like, let me get my shift together, right? Like, let me get my stuff together. But then it's also like, what's the legacy that you're leaving behind? And it's just that's been the predominant thing in my mind for the last however many months, man. It's been all I thought about. And so that's kind of where we started talking, man. I mean, thinking about my dad, if you would just allow me to keep going, I could talk about my dad forever, man. He was incredible. He would wake us up every single morning. He'd get up every single morning at 4 a.m. to get ready, do his devotion. But before he left the house around 5:30, 5:45, he would wake me and my younger brother up and my mom up and bring us all together to pray over us before he left the house. And, you know, I even think about the fact that that he would call me. He would call me every Friday, you know, especially like as a pastor for quite some time, for a few years. I can't say quite some time. I was a pastor for some time. And he would call me on Fridays to pray with me and ask me about my sermon. And he'd always hit me up after the sermon or whatever it was, man. And just like that presence that I felt, you know, his presence in my life, it was just so important to me. It still is so important to me. And so I'm thinking so much about, I don't have kids yet, but I'm thinking about like who do I want to be for them? And at the same time, and, you know, to your point, the complicated nature of things, I take that and I celebrate it. But I have a few older brothers. I have my oldest brother. He had him when he was a kid himself and wasn't as present in his life. And so now I'm playing. I've had to kind of take on this bridge role between who I know my dad to be and the thoughts and feelings that I know he had, especially towards my oldest brother, and to translate that in a way that communicates that, no, he really loved you, man. Like he really wanted more out of this relationship, which is stuff that he should be saying, right? That's the message that he should be telling him. To be in that position now to have to try to synthesize and remember all the times when my dad was talking about my oldest brother and all the things he wanted for that relationship and all the hopes and dreams of going out. And we were supposed to go to the Grand Canyon this summer together and all the stuff that we were trying to do. And it's just cut off. And now I have to try to take that and package it and give it to him as some semblance of consolation because he lost his dad, too. It's a lot. And I could we could go into a lot of it, but it's made me think so much about who do I want to be in this world? How do I want to show up? And what loose ends do I need to tie up? Because this thing is not promised. And you just have to think about it. The last thing I'll say is this, like, almost everyone experiences death. Like, the longer you live, the more you're going to experience, the more likely you're going to experience death, especially if someone that you love. And in all of that, one of the most disorienting parts of it is that no one talked to me about this, man, especially as a man. It's the thing that, like, I was, as a man, losing my dad. And I look around and I have a number of amazing men in my life who've mentored me in addition to my dad, who've just been there, been big brothers, whatever it is, mentoring my marriage, like all of that, like they've been there. And we never talked about, they lost their dad at some point, they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They've lost their fathers at some point. And we never talked about it. It's this thing that's almost inevitable, but we never talk about it. And it's so disorienting. And so a part of that idea of what I'm leaving behind is that I don't want anybody else to be caught off guard. I mean, it's gonna be hell no matter what. It's gonna be hard no matter what. It's gonna be disorienting no matter what. But I don't want anyone to have to say, I never heard anyone talk about that experience. I never was in relationship with someone who could. I don't want the people in my life to be able to say I was never in a relationship with someone who was able to help me walk through this nightmare. And who could share their experience and how they got out of the deep hole of depression after this person that meant, almost everything to them was gone. So
yeah,
that's said a lot. Yeah.
No, listen, one of the things that I think that I wanted to get into, and honestly, I could feel the emotion in what you're saying, man. I think it just really connects with me. I mean, what I will say is this, my father and I I'm privileged like you are, and everybody can't say they have our story, man. You know, most people do not have, most brothers that are listening to this do not have that story of good, positive memories about their father. So let's just put that out there. That's an anomaly almost now. And so if you are able to have that, and if you're able to even provide that, right, for your own kids, it's a blessing. You know, my dad and mom divorced, and that changed our relationship. And this happened, 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago. And it just shifted the whole dynamic of our relationship. And so some significant healing had to take place. And so now we have a whole new relationship. And the term I use is something that you actually said, or maybe, I don't know who said it, but it was talking about dealing with the complexities of our relationship with our father, right? So my dad had always been my hero. He had always been like my hero. Like, I worship the ground he walked on. Matter of fact, I almost feel like, in a sense, that I'm living my life to finish, complete, and fulfill the stuff he started. This stuff with men, being like really down for the community, being pro-black, and that's my dad, bro. Honestly, I got this. Honestly, I mean, people, this ain't original, like the way I'm functioning in life, right? At all. You know what I'm saying? It's the family business in many respects, and so, but with that, man, there's also a lot of pain. He had to go he went from being my hero to, after all this, and I even say this now, he's now human, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, I almost kind of like this relationship better because I'm a man now and I'm real, mm-hmm. and I'm dealing with my own stuff too. And so seeing him in this place is different, but the complexities of it all makes it difficult sometimes to navigate this whole legacy conversation. You shared a lot of positive things about your dad. Obviously, I'm not asking you to say anything negative, but how do you feel me on that though? Like,
no, I feel you.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I feel you, man. I feel you. You know, it's interesting. You said your parents divorced about 10 years ago. My parents divorced they split up in 2009. So just a little bit over 10 years ago. I was 19 at the time. And man, that thing, like, it was probably the first of, experiencing death with my father in a way. And I've never even said that out loud before. I've never even thought of that. But like the experience of him and my mom splitting up it definitely broke something. I don't know what it was. It is.
It's grief. There's grief, man, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I think about, getting married brought a lot of that back, because like as a young man, I get to go out and live my life, and I'm going and exploring and having my experiences and all of that. But then coming, together with my wife, and now we have a home to, a relationship to maintain. I'm seeing all the things that my dad was doing, the clamming up and shutting down and going to the room because you don't want to talk about it, and zoning out on the TV, and like all the stuff that he was doing to like avoid and to not deal with whatever it was that him and my mom needed to deal with. All that stuff just by osmosis, like you said, like this is not an original response. Like by osmosis, just by observing that, this is my default. And here I am, like not wanting to talk about it, and let's talk about it later. I don't feel like I'm tired. That's what my dad would say. Like I'm too tired, right? And I'm doing the same thing, man. And like I definitely, like getting married and then seeing that tension. I mean, newlyweds. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary in a couple of weeks, and like so we're still newlyweds. And like seeing the way that these moments are so pivotal, I'm thankful in so many ways. I mean, it's crazy to say, I didn't think at the beginning of this pandemic that it would be the thing that took my dad away from me. And at the same time, I can count the blessings that like being in the same space with my wife for, the majority of the time, like during this, like kind of during the quarantine times and working from home and all of that. Like it gave us the necessary ground to build and to switch and to change for me to change some of those habits that I picked up from my dad. I definitely think getting married helped make my dad more human to me. I say this, I say this from time to time to friends. I think we don't recognize how short time is with so many of the people that we love, but I from my experience, is you're right. Not everybody has a father in their life and even their mother in their life. But from my experience, we don't understand how short time is with our parents. When you're a kid, your parents understand you very well, but you really don't understand your parents. Then you're like in your teen years and your parents really don't understand you very well. And you really don't understand your parents very well at all. And then in your like kind of early to mid 20s, like you actually really start to understand your parents, but they still don't fully understand you, your major, your whatever, your decisions, your career, your dreams, your aspirations. They don't fully your dating habits. They don't understand that stuff very, very well. But there comes this time, at least in my experience and in this experience of a few of my friends, man, there's this window like late 20s, kind of mid 30s, kind of like where you really understand your parents, and your parents really, if at least for me, they really started to like understand and get me. And so there's this great tragedy in it being kind of, for many people, so late in your parents' life, where now you have this like very short window where like your parents are getting older and maybe their memory isn't what it used to be, or just their connection to the world and what's going on isn't what it used to be. And so now you're back in this place where you're kind of starting out, but they aren't understanding you. And now you're drifting apart. It's this exactly what you're saying. It's like this moment where like everything is aligned and you have to take advantage of that. And I have a friend who's like constantly beefing with his pops, man. And I'm like, dude, fix it. Like, bro, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't, whatever it is, it's not to be insensitive. It's to say that when that person is gone, like when they're gone, when it's over, like none of that will matter. And so to your point, I'm saying all that to kind of build out to this one thing that I kind of had in the back of my mind about like what you're saying, like the things that you want to be, at least that I wanted to be different in my dad, or like these kind of negative things. Like, my dad, for all the great that he was he was avoidant for sure, man. He was like not showing a whole bunch of emotions, until the moment when he's showing a bunch of emotions. And, he was a crier and all this, but it took some time to get to that place of vulnerability. And I really wish he had leaned into that so much more, specifically with my older brother. And I just wish that he had been much more available emotionally and vulnerable and opened himself up to be hurt if that's what was going to happen, but just to get into it. And I've been thinking about that so much for myself, man. Like I want her to come apologize to me because she did me wrong, but it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter. And when my dad passed away, one of the very first things that my older brother told me, he was like, man, it feels like all that stuff. Like, and we have a great relationship. So he's shared so much with me about just the pain of not having my dad in his life and the initiative that my dad didn't take, him not taking initiative. Like he said, man, it feels like all that stuff, man. Like I can't even remember what it was that I was mad about anymore. I just wish that he was still here.
Sorry, bro. That's real. Wow. Yeah.
One of the last conversations that I had with my dad, he was starting to get kind of sick. We talk, so often, but he kind of like gotten like a little bit of a headache. I talked to him a couple of days before he had this headache, and I'm like, man, like people getting sick with COVID, man, you got to be careful, man. Have you been wearing your mask? He wasn't vaccinated, didn't believe in it. And I was like, have you been wearing your mask? Have you been around people? He was like running this job. He was still so active. He was a contractor. And so he's running a job, major like apartment that he was renovating. And he had a bunch of workers, kind of day workers, migrant workers working for him. He had no idea that several of them had COVID. He'd been working with them and kind of overseeing what they were doing. I got this headache. I'm talking to him. I'm like, man, you got to be careful. And a couple of days later, he's developing a cough and he's not feeling well. And I'm like, man, you got to go to the hospital or something. You might have COVID. You need to go get tested at the very least. And he's like, man, I don't have COVID. I don't have COVID. And I'm like, Dad, like, I'm trying. I'm really, really trying not to be mad at you for not getting vaccinated. I just don't get why you didn't do that. You know, I just don't understand. He says, man, Garrison, you didn't just don't be mad. If you don't want to be mad, then don't be mad. You got to make that decision, son. If you don't want to be, you said you don't want to be mad at me, don't be mad at me. You got to make this decision. And at the time, I was pissed, bro. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I don't have to be mad. But I've thought about that so much since, because it was one of our last like really coherent conversations before COVID really started taking an effect on him. And while that's not the case for everything, I think about that in my relationship with my wife all the time. Like, I don't really want to be mad. I want to reconcile. I want to be on the same page. And so that's on me to make this decision, to not be mad, to take the initiative, to go out, have the conversation, don't avoid it, just go and do what I need to do to make sure that we're okay. I said a lot, MyRon, man. I went in some different places, man, but that's what's on my heart, man. That's just what's on my heart.
No, you know, honestly, man, I appreciate the direction. I'm going to bring these other brothers in here, man. And because I could see that they were all very much tracking this conversation as well, man. And we appreciate your courage, you know, to be vulnerable in this space and to share the painful experience that you and your family are going through. But DJ Walkman, I could see you getting a little emotional, man, in the background, man, because you've been through some stuff. What's your thoughts, man? And then I want to come to you, Kymone, based on what Garrison had shared. Go ahead, DJ Walk.
Yeah, it's just so crazy because me and a very close friend of mine just had this conversation last night. A lot of people know that my mother passed last year. And when my mother passed, it just brought just a complete wave of grief on my father. And he didn't really kind of know how to channel that, you know. So then he got himself into some situations. And, you know, it put a strain on our relationship, and I just developed this beef with him. It was like, you know, one conversation I'm ashamed to even share, man. I said some stuff to him like he was my enemy. It was crazy because I just kind of felt like he was kind of down in my mother's legacy because, you know, my mother was very active in the church. And, you know, we had that Walker legacy, you know, the Walker family, you know, and so now he's going through this in the grieving process. And I just came to a point like, hey, man, you are crapping on mom's legacy, bro. And we just got to a really, 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 really bad space. Like a space where it was like we were almost like enemies, you know, like it was a very, very bad space because he just got himself into some stuff. And I was like, you know, this is not the time for that. You need to be focusing on the family and, you know, don't focus on this and that. You need to be focusing on the grandkids and the family. And then my son fell down the steps by accident. So I'm calling him. He didn't answer the phone. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm like, you don't know if Jackson broke his back or broke his neck. You was with me, MyRon, that night, you know, and like it was hysterical. It was hysterical. It was a complete hysterical moment. And when it calmed down and I'm in the emergency room, I'm calling on my father and he's not answering. And from that moment, I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with you. You know, I like, don't call, don't text. I'm calling you. You don't know what my son is going through. We're waiting back to hear the words to see if he's okay. And his grandfather is not even available right now. You know, and you're not dead. You're not in jail. Like, you know, I know what you're doing, but you're not picking up the phone, you know, and you don't know what your grandson, myself, you know what I'm saying, my wife is going through. So I'm done with you. And he called back like 1 or 2 days later. And that's when we had that conversation. And I wouldn't even utter some of the things that I said to him. But what happened is he had a stroke in Pittsburgh. And he just got himself in a situation, and it was kind of like, God was just like, okay, now what if he didn't make it up out of this stroke? You know what I'm saying? Would you be able to forgive yourself for some of the heinous things that you said to him because you guys weren't in contact, And so since then, I just started mending the relationship. It's crazy because my dad's downstairs right now. He's visiting, and all my boys know how I felt because I didn't hide it, man. And it's kind of like everybody's like, "Oh, man, you came with your dad. Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. You took him to the museum. Oh, yeah, yeah." And now, we're mending that relationship, and just God forbid, he didn't make it out of that stroke, and that was the last conversation that I had with him. I love my mother dearly, but I understand that she was my mother, but she was his wife for 45 years, right? So being in that relationship for 45 years and losing it, I mean, Black men, we don't really know how to handle grief, period. You know what I'm saying? So what he did and how he got into some situations is, I hate to say it's understandable, but I feel his pain because if I was married to my wife for 45 years and she died, and me and my sister was talking about it, and it's like, my dad never really lived on his own. When he was young, he lived with my grandmother, and then when he got married, he moved right in with my mother. So it's like 45 years of his life, gone in the blinking of an eye, and it was a very hard time he went through, and I ain't nobody's judge. Like Jay-Z say, I ain't nobody's judge. You ain't on trial. So I'm trying to mend that relationship because it's very important to me.
Yeah. Wow.
Heavy. It's heavy how the connection of grief has been the thing that has shifted Garrison. This issue of dealing with grief and loss. And grief and loss is not just death, right? It's as Jay is explaining, sometimes it's the loss of relationship, and then the compound effect of mom dying, and then the shift that you got to make. That dude is human, man. He's trying to figure that out. That was amazing. Yeah. How about you, Kymone?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it through this, man. Garrison,
your mic's a little hot. Your mic's a little hot, Kymone.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna switch.
Just back off it a little bit, but you're good. Go ahead, man. We'll figure it out. I don't want to lose this moment. Yeah.
Let me know if that's better. Is that better?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So listen, I'm gonna try to make it through this. Garrison, DJ Walk, the stuff you guys shared, MyRon. Just impactful. So my uncle passed away this past weekend. My father's brother, and my father has three brothers. Had three brothers. One passed away when I was much younger. And I think it's because of my father's older brother who passed away about 20 years ago that the whole idea of being a business person was in my head, because there was a business across the street from my school with my last name on it that my uncle owned. So he passed away. And then this uncle who just passed, when I look at him, I see my father. I see they have such a resemblance. And so him passing kind of really has made me I've been thinking about just my connection with my family and how I'm not connected with a lot of my cousins and that kind of stuff. But it's also watching my father in processing this and just knowing, MyRon and I have talked. My father is a larger than life figure, and he's a very strong personality. And as Garrison talked about the stages, I think because of how strong his personality is, it's caused me to kind of pull away a little bit and stay, a little distant. And just hearing you say this and just watching, seriously, my uncle pass, I'm like, man, I have to do better in building a closer relationship. I have to, forgive stuff that maybe I don't even know how to express how I felt, but I just need to work on forgiveness to build that relationship, because I mean, just watching my uncle pass away just suddenly, it was so sudden. I spoke to my uncle on this Saturday, and didn't expect on Sunday morning that would hear the news that he passed away. And so just this whole conversation has been impactful. And the stuff you said, Garrison, about, just working past stuff that impacted me.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how, Kymone, as I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm just looking at each one of us and I'm like, wow, this is really a conversation about grief. And it's so relevant in this moment. It's not something we talk about, Jason, as men in particular, but especially in the Black community. Honestly, it's not something I talk about a lot. Most people don't talk about grief unless somebody dies, but a loss is a loss, and all loss has a profound effect on you, whether it's grief or not. Honestly, as I said before, when our parents got divorced, my dad's a pastor. And the way that it went down, man, I legit thought that everything, my whole family life, everything I built my identity on, just all of that was gone. Like, just gone. I just saw stuff that was just like, what? What is this? What is this? And then you just start questioning. Yeah. Then simultaneously, I'm going through all kind of struggles personally, dealing with all kind of addiction and stuff that we never talked about. And so, man, honestly, I just remember like yesterday, me and my dad were not speaking, which is crazy. This is just, the thought of it is just crazy. That's my guy. We were not talking to each other. And he reached out and was like, we need to talk. And I remember going to Baltimore. It's just crazy to see my dad at his apartment, which is, you're not at home with mom. Like, you got a whole life, and what is this? Like that, bro. So that was crazy. So anyway, man, bro, I don't remember what was said, but man, there was a lot of yelling and hollering, Jay, and just, we went in for like 2.5 hours inside his car. Just went in and, man, cried and loved on each other. And I never forget, it was my uncle who was beefing with him at the time, who was like, he's still your father. We hear that all the time. But, man, now when I hear this from brothers like this who have actually lost parents, you're like, man, what? Is it really that deep? And now for all the brothers that's watching, I don't want anybody to think that we're minimizing the pain that you've been through. What I would say is maybe this conversation just puts a level of urgency on your need to go about healing. And sometimes healing for many of us, and I just want to leave this last word for Garrison. Garrison, I strongly feel like we do need to get to a place in our manhood where we move our fathers from being heroes to human. That's what Jay was saying. Jay said the man was married for 45 years. He lost his wife. Man, I would have lost my mind too. You know what I'm saying? So he came to that understanding. He's a man like me. I've lost my mind. You know what I'm saying? Garrison, talk about that. Encourage a brother right now, because most of the brothers watching this got daddy issues.
Yeah, man. I mean, the thing that I can leave you is the lesson that I've learned, man, is that my dad was doing his very, very best. And his best was not perfect. Sometimes his best came up short, but he was doing the best he could with everything that he was given. The history that he had in his family, the legacy of what he learned, how he learned what it meant to be a man, what he learned on how it meant to be a father, or what it meant to be a father. He was doing his best. And you know what, man, if being a pastor taught me anything, it's that most people are doing their best, man. Like people are just doing what they can, man. They're stressed. They're losing it. Like they on the edge of a breakdown, man. And they got to act like everything is okay. People are doing it, even when it seems like they're being crazy. And I don't want to use that word flippantly to dismiss, but when it feels like they're being illogical, when it feels like they're being mean, people are still, and they're just doing what they can, man. And that's what they can muster. And so it doesn't excuse the actions. It doesn't excuse the pain, doesn't excuse the way in which men, fathers, people have hurt us. But if we can just put what their actions in the category of like, man, that's just the best that they could do with what they had. I think it just gives a little bit of room for that empathy and that growth and that reconciliation. The word says that God has given us, the ministry of reconciliation, and I know he means it, and I really believe in it. And so I'm really hoping that people are able to reconcile and make the most of the time they have, because it is fleeting, it is short, and death on this side is extremely final. We can look forward to heaven, but whether I live another couple of days or another couple of years or another couple of decades, I'm living that time without somebody that I love with my whole heart. And I wish they were here and I wish I was with them. And so take advantage of the time that you have with people. And it's better on the other side of that reconciliation. So that's what I would leave with any brother who might be listening and going through it, and this is resonating with them.
Wow.
And like, just to piggyback off of last week, take your butt to counseling. Go talk to somebody. Take your butt to counseling. Find you a grief therapist. Find you a doctor of your choice. Take your butt to counseling. Just don't bottle it up inside. Take your butt to counseling.
Bro, funny thing is I was about to say that. Ain't no need to say it. Hey, Garrison, appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming and pouring your soul out, man, in this space. Brothers got all these brothers in here crying today, man. It's all good, though, because we need this, man. This atmosphere is what so many men lack, what we need. Fellas, look, we out of here. Much love to y'all, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Get your shift together. Peace.
For listening to this episode of Get Your Shift Together Men's Podcast. For more information, please visit our website, menswinningscircle.com. That is, menswinningscircle.com. Let's win in the things that matter.